One icy stare from Steph Curry directed at Draymond Green during a brutal 28-point blowout against the Lakers has the entire internet asking the same loud question. Is the chef finally cooking up a trade request to get Draymond out of the Bay? This isn't just a random interaction between coworkers. We are talking about two legends locked in for 14 seasons, building a dynasty, stacking rings, and revolutionizing the game of basketball together. But let's be real. The last month has injected serious venom into this narrative. Now, fans are dissecting every side-eye, every twitch, and every non-reaction like it's the Zapruder film. So let's break down exactly what happened in that disaster against Los Angeles, what triggered that viral clip, and before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the future of Steph and Draymond. It all went down on Saturday, March 1st, 2026, when the Golden State Warriors welcomed the Los Angeles Lakers to the Chase Center. The lights were bright, but the performance was hideous. Luka Doncic went off for 26 points, 8 assists, and 6 boards. LeBron James chipped in another 22 points, 9 dimes, and 7 rebounds. The Lakers didn't just beat them, they suffocated them all night, cruising to an easy 129-101 win. It wasn't a nail-biter, it wasn't a thriller, it was a total demolition from the opening tip. And smack in the middle of that beatdown, during a specific timeout, the vibe shifted. Across the web, that one moment is the reason we are even debating the Steph and Draymond brotherhood right now. To be fair, the Warriors were struggling to find the bucket. And it was obvious. Stephen Curry was sitting out his 10th straight game, still nursing that pesky right knee injury. Their newly acquired big man, Kristaps Porzingis, was also sidelined with a sickness. So Curry wasn't in uniform. He wasn't in the hardwood. He was stuck on the bench in street clothes, forced to watch his squad get run out of their own building during one stoppage in play. A video surfaced. Shout out to Instagram user OBenson926 for the original footage, and fans latched onto it immediately. The clip captures Curry sitting on the pine during that 129-101 drubbing at the Chase Center. Draymond Green is in the team huddle, absolutely fired up, shouting, gesturing wildly, clearly trying to ignite a spark. Meanwhile, Curry looks completely checked out. He's staring into the void. He gives the slightest nod. That's it. No energy, no visible emotion, just a blank 1,000-yard stare. The video was shared by Gen30, then aggregated by the account Full Court Pass with the caption, Steph Curry watching Draymond Green during a Warriors timeout, followed by that side-eye emoji. Once that hit the timeline, the takes went nuclear. NBA Twitter started claiming Curry looks sick of Draymond's antics. Some said he looks mentally done. Others took it a step further, calling this definitive proof that the partnership is dead. But let's pump the brakes and analyze what the X footage actually displays. Curry is benched. He can't help. His team is getting embarrassed. He is watching his teammate try to rally the troops in a game that is already a lost cause. His body language, that stone cold expression, that tiny nod is what people spiraled over. The internet decided that silence spoke volumes. Suddenly, the narrative became Curry wants Draymond gone. Suddenly, it became the dynasty is officially buried. Now, here is the context that usually gets cut from the viral reels. The Warriors were awful across the board. Santos logged 14 points on 6 of 12 shooting, grabbing 4 boards and 2 assists in 27 minutes during that 129-101 loss. The offense was stagnant. The team's offensive rating plummeted to 105.1. You aren't winning many games with that number. And Draymond Green, in his 24 minutes, he finished with just 7 points and a team worst plus minus of minus 30. Minus 30. That means when he was on the floor, the team collapsed. Draymond ended the night with 7 points and that minus 30 anchor weighing down his stat line. That number doesn't help the optics, especially when the broadcast catches Curry looking miserable on the sidelines. But ask yourself, when you're watching your team lose by 28 at home, what is your face supposed to look like? Thrilled, smiling, clapping like it's all sunshine and rainbows? Should Curry have been hyping up the speech while trailing by 25? Should he have been nodding enthusiastically like it was a tied playoff game in the fourth quarter? Or is it completely normal to look frustrated when your squad is getting handled on your home court? The answer depends on the narrative you want to push. And the internet picked its lane immediately. One brief timeout clip morphed into a massive debate about loyalty, burnout, and the future of Golden State. But before we let a single camera angle determine the fate of a 14-year brotherhood, we need to dig deeper into the reality behind that. Stare. We need to zoom out and examine the chaos surrounding this team in 2026. Because this drama didn't begin with one timeout video. That moment was just the spark. The tension had been brewing weeks before that. Lakers game even tipped off. If you really want to understand why that clip hit a nerve, you have to rewind to early February 2026, when the Golden State Warriors were seriously exploring a blockbuster move that could have sent Draymond Green out the door. These weren't just whispers. These were real talks. On February 3rd, 2026, ESPN's Anthony Slater reported that the Warriors had actually involved Draymond Green in trade discussions right before the deadline. League sources told ESPN a 14-season dynasty nearly hit a brick wall in a split second. We aren't talking about idle locker room gossip here. We are talking about a move that would fundamentally alter the franchise's DNA. The Golden State Warriors weren't just sitting by the phone waiting for offers. They were the ones aggressively working the lines. General manager Mike Dunleavy and owner Joe Lacob had their sights locked on one massive prize: the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was the ultimate endgame. And to even get Milwaukee to pick up the receiver, Draymond Green's name had to be on the table. That is the harsh reality of NBA business. Purely transactional. The target was Giannis, but the price of admission was likely Green. To match the salaries and make the math work, Golden State had to offload massive cash. They could have looked at injured wing Jimmy Butler, set to earn $56.8 million next year, or Draymond, who was on the books for $27.6 million. Green's deal was lighter, more tradable, and crucially, he was actually healthy. Mathematically speaking, swapping him out was the logical play. Zero emotion, just cold. Hard cap management. Head coach Steve Kerr later revealed he actually sat down with Green to discuss the shaky ground. Kerr noted, "This is likely the first moment in my entire tenure here where his name was legitimately tossed around in deal scenarios. Let that marinate." Through the title runs, the suspensions, the locker room drama, and the entire Kevin Durant saga, Draymond was untouchable. Until this deadline, both Kerr and Steph Curry have publicly stated their dream scenario involves Green retiring, wearing blue and gold. That was always the master plan. However, executives are paid to look at the horizon, not the history books. As Lacob and Dunleavy explored blowing up the roster, Draymond suddenly found himself on the market. That pivot changes the entire vibe. Before we dig deeper into the fallout, make sure to hit that like button if you want more insider NBA breakdowns. Green felt the shift too. Following a rough loss to the Sixers that Tuesday, he confessed he thought he had played his final minutes as a Warrior. He told the press, "I have put in 13 and a half years here. That tenure is longer than probably 98% of players ever get with one squad. Just a kid from Saginaw, Michigan. He wasn't sure if the road ended at 13 and a half, but what a ride it has been. That isn't a superstar brushing off tabloid noise. That is a man saying goodbye." He even warned his son on the drive to the arena that he might be packing his bags. Really absorb that. When you start prepping your children for a cross-country move, it is past the rumor stage. It is imminent. Ultimately, the blockbuster for Giannis fell apart. By Wednesday evening, it was evident Green was staying put. Instead, the Warriors shipped Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield off to the Atlanta Hawks to acquire Kristaps Porzingis. A solid splash, sure, but not the tidal wave fans were bracing for. The Giannis fantasy evaporated. Porzingis was the plan B, but the trust was already fractured. Once the deadline expired, Green admitted the final hours were incredibly tense. He said, "It is what it is, we move on. But definitely not a feeling I want to experience again." That speaks volumes. This wasn't business as usual. And if you are enjoying this breakdown, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Things got murky after the dust settled. GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. came out insisting that Green was never actually on the chopping block. He backpedaled, claiming Draymond's name wasn't seriously in the mix. Owner Joe Lacob doubled down. stating unequivocally that he wasn't discussed in any trade packages. Mike claimed his statement was 100% factual. From the outside looking in, it seemed like a hard no. But here is the twist. On his own podcast, The Draymond Green Show, the veteran forward shared a different picture. He confirmed that the pursuit of Giannis caused genuine instability. He noted, when the team isn't winning, everything is on the table. He detailed chats with Dunleavy and Kerr that, while not definitive, forced him to envision life in a different jersey. Now, flash forward to that specific timeout against the Lakers. You have a struggling squad, a pressure cooker season, and a player who just stared down his own basketball mortality for the first time in 14 years. Steph Curry is on the sidelines watching it all. That 1,000-yard stare carries way more weight when you know the backstory. So, who is lying? ESPN reported active trade talks involving Green. Green himself confirmed he had serious discussions about a potential exit. Yet, the ownership and GM stepped to the mic and claimed it was all smoke and mirrors. That gives us three conflicting perspectives on the exact same event. Here is the reality. The conversation happened. That underlying tension set the stage for everything, including that viral clip. Before we check the stats, drop a comment below on who you believe, the players or the front office. Now, let's look at the ugly truth. No PR statement can fix the on-court product. The metrics in 2026 without Steph Curry are brutal. Not just a little bad. We are talking disaster level red flags. Steph has been shelved since January 30th with runner's knee. The four-time champ, turning 38 in just 2 weeks, remains the sole engine of this offense, putting up 27.2 points a night. He is the heartbeat. Without him, the Warriors system goes into cardiac arrest. Curry has missed over a month of action. That is a massive sample size. And in that window, the analytics surrounding Draymond Green have been, you simply cannot look away from this disaster. With Steph Curry in street clothes, Draymond Green looks completely lost on attack. Last February, the Dubs put up a nightmare offensive rating of 98.7 with Green playing. But when he sat, a scorching 120.0 rating. We are talking about a massive swing of 21.3 points every 100 possessions. Seriously, pause and think about that. Over 20 points. That is the divide between a championship caliber scoring machine and a squad that can't buy a bucket. And this massive drop-off depends entirely on if Draymond is on the court. This isn't just a hot take, folks. The analytics are screaming the truth. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button if you love deep stat breakdowns. Anthony Slater from ESPN didn't mince words on the Warriors stock report. He noted that at this specific point in Green's timeline, it is blatantly obvious his offensive value relies on Curry. Slater emphasized that you can't overlook this trend, especially when the chef isn't cooking. Currently, the squad simply operates smoother when Draymond sits. That is a harsh reality check, and the game logs completely support the theory. Green missed victories against the Denver Nuggets and Memphis Grizzlies due to a sore lower back. During those specific matchups, the Dubs exploded for offensive ratings of 120.8 and 134.3. Absolute fireworks. Then, sandwiched right between those W's was a brutal defeat against the Pelicans. In that game, with Green logging 32 minutes, the rating plummeted to 103.8. The difference is night and day. No Green, fluid ball movement. With Green, everything grinds to a halt. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss these breakdowns. Now, back to that Lakers matchup, the one with the timeout video that blew up online. In that 129-101 blowout, the team managed a weak 105.1 rating during Green's 24 minutes. He dropped just 7 points and ended up with a team low minus 30. Being minus 30 is glaring even when the whole team is getting crushed. Now, to be fair, Draymond Green has never been a guy you judge by the stat sheet alone. His money has always been made on D, directing traffic, passing, and being the vocal heart of the squad. He was key to 4 titles riding shotgun with Curry. He was the defensive anchor. He took home DPOY honors in 2017 and landed on 9 all-defensive teams. That is Hall of Fame stuff. No one is taking away Green's legacy. But the burning question is, what can he actually bring to the table at 35 years old when Steph isn't by his side? That is the sticky part. Look at this season. Green has suited up 49 times compared to Curry's 39. Staying healthy hasn't been Draymond's problem. He is available. The argument is about his actual effectiveness. Historically, Green averages 7.9 points, 6.6 boards, and 5.7 dimes across 137 contests minus Steph Curry. Those stats look decent on a spreadsheet, but in 2026, watching the games and digging into the advanced metrics reveals a darker truth. It is becoming undeniable that Curry's gravity is the only thing keeping Green viable. With number 30 out there, Draymond looks like the ultimate glue guy. But when the MVP sits, the flaws are deafening. That is the hard truth Golden State must accept. NBA pundit Mark Willard took it a step further on his show. He proposed a wild idea. If Steph is sidelined, perhaps Draymond should grab a seat too. He argued, quote, instead of stressing over minute distribution or debating if he is a starter or reserve, how about this? If Steph is out, you don't play. That is a scorching hot take. When pressed on the logic, Willard noted the team adopts a totally different identity sans Curry. It isn't an age thing, it is a chemistry thing. He highlighted how the Dubs pivot when Steph is missing and claimed the alternative game plan actually runs smoother without Green clogging things up. That is a massive strategic conversation happening live. People keep bringing up the Al Horford comparison because Al can stroke the three. At 40 years old, Big Al still stretches the defense in a way Draymond just can't. When Horford runs the 5 spot instead of Green, the opposition has to guard him out to the perimeter. Since his return around Christmas, Horford is splashing 38.3% from deep. That makes bigs leave the paint, creating wide open runways for cutters to get to the basket. The court feels massive. With Green, opponents treat him like he isn't there. They pack the lane. They basically beg him to fire away. With Horford, you can't disrespect him. You must stay attached. That one detail completely flips how the Warriors function when Steph Curry isn't playing. Even Coach Steve Kerr owned up to the problem. He confessed, quote, the game changes drastically without Steph. Those two have a connection built over 14 years. Their two-man action is our staple offense. So when Steph is unavailable, it alters the entire defensive scheme against us. And honestly, it hurts Draymond more than anyone else. Listen, when the head honcho admits it affects Green the most, that isn't noise. That is facts. The Curry-Green tandem is arguably the best duo of the modern era. But a tandem needs two people. When one half is gone, what remains? That is the brutal question hanging over the Bay Area this year. Let's pump the brakes and look at the real story. We have to separate a 7-second viral moment from what Steph Curry actually said. There is a canyon between what Twitter thinks Steph. Let's cut through the noise and look at the cold, hard facts regarding how number 30 really feels. The tape doesn't lie. Since 2012, dealing with Draymond Green has been an emotional roller coaster. We've seen suspensions, blow-ups, and plenty of drama. Fans and analysts have spent a decade waiting for Curry to snap. But guess what? He hasn't. Not once has the chef signed off on a breakup. The media has tried to bait Curry into turning on his teammate for years. Before we get into his epic response, make sure you smash that like button. Steph shuts it down every time. He basically says, I don't play those games, Draymond owns his mistakes, and the critics love to pile on, but he always takes accountability. That right there, that is the definition of loyalty and consistency in a league that rarely has it. When a reporter asked Steph how many rings the Dubs would have without Green, he didn't even blink. If you're enjoying this breakdown, subscribe to the channel now. His answer was brutal and honest. 0. None. Not a single banner. He even hinted that they might have enough gas in the tank for one more run. That should tell you everything about their brotherhood. We are talking about the longest tenured duo in the NBA right now. 14 seasons deep, folks. This isn't just a workplace relationship. This is family. This is ride or die on a different level. You have to rewind to Draymond's rookie season to get it. He was doing the dirty work, the gritty stuff that doesn't make the highlight reel. He was the vocal leader and the defensive anchor. Steph recognized that value immediately, and that connection bled into their personal lives. Here is a classic story from 2015. Steph was heading into hostile territory to watch his Panthers play the Seahawks in Seattle. Someone warned him the fans would be rowdy. Curry's reply was legendary. I'm bringing Draymond. That says it all. When the crowd got rowdy, Green stepped up as the enforcer. That trip proved to Steph that Draymond would always protect his own. Green broke this dynamic down perfectly in an interview with Rich Kleiman. He talked about knowing their lanes. He said, "I don't try to be Steph, and he doesn't try to be me. There is zero pressure to mimic each other. That is emotional intelligence at its finest. It's maturity." Steph has echoed those exact sentiments regarding their chemistry. Curry admits, "I've said it since day one. Draymond impacts winning in ways that a stat sheet will never show. He is a winner, plain and simple." But here's the kicker. Steph admits he relies on Green's energy. "Sometimes I need him to light a fire under me when I'm flat. And sometimes I need to be the one to calm him down." It is a balancing act. It isn't tension. It is the secret sauce of their dynasty. Don't forget to hit that notification bell for more updates. Ironically, Green didn't think they would vibe at first. On paper, they are total opposites. You had the baby-faced assassin, polished and calm, versus the loud, fiery underdog. Steph came from a pro sports family in Charlotte. Draymond came from the grind in Saginaw, Michigan, raised by a single mom. One was pure offense, the other was pure lockdown defense. It was a clash of styles that ended up being a perfect marriage. One stretches the floor to the logo, the other anchors the paint. One brings the ice, the other brings the fire. Together, they changed the game. So, when people analyze a 7-second clip of a timeout and say Steph wants him gone, that is ridiculous. You are ignoring 14 years of evidence. You are ignoring what the man has actually said. You are ignoring the history of the greatest shooting duo and playmaker combo ever. But let's be real about the team's struggles. The roster has issues. The stats without Curry on the floor are a nightmare. The front office has tough calls to make. Management is definitely looking at the long game. But claiming Steph wants Draymond out because of a facial expression? That is pure clickbait, not reporting. Steve Kerr has managed these two personalities for over a decade. Kerr says Steph is the stabilizing force that keeps Draymond on the rails. That dynamic is bulletproof. It has survived title runs, punch-ups, and media circuses. Context is king, and one viral stare doesn't change history. Fact check, Draymond Green and Steph Curry have never had a public beef. Not once in 14 years. Through suspensions and locker room chaos, they have never turned their backs on each other publicly. Both are Pisces. Both are loyal to a fault. And the glue holding it all together is their obsession with winning. That has always been the goal. So, what is the verdict for the Golden State Warriors moving forward? That timeout clip was blown out of proportion. The trade deadline was stressful, and the team is shaky without Steph. But the book isn't closed. Green has a player option worth over $27 million for the 26-27 season. He is in the driver's seat. Most insiders expect him to opt in, meaning he will be rocking the blue and gold next year. It is his call to make. The real drama starts after that contract decision settles. Will the Warriors reopen trade talks in the offseason? One league executive didn't mince words. They said, they've crossed the Rubicon with Green. If he isn't moved now, don't be shocked if the conversation heats up this summer. Discussions are heating up again as we look toward the offseason. This isn't just idle speculation. It is the harsh reality of managing a championship roster in the modern era. If Green enters the final year of his agreement, that expiring deal transforms him into a massive asset for any blockbuster trade. Whether the front office is plotting another run at Giannis Antetokounmpo or eyeing a different superstar, Draymond's paycheck is the most mathematically efficient way to balance the books. The dream of landing the Greek Freak isn't over. Milwaukee still holds the cards, but Golden State is desperate for one more elite weapon. Green's contract makes the numbers work, but let's look at the bigger picture. This goes beyond one player. It is an identity crisis. Are the Warriors clinging to past glory, or are they constructing a squad actually built for basketball in 2026? It is not about disrespecting a legend like Draymond. It is about admitting that the system that made him a Hall of Famer has specific requirements. That entire ecosystem depends on number 30 warping gravity from 30 feet out. Without Steph Curry pulling defenders into the parking lot, the floor gets claustrophobic. If you are loving this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Without that spacing, everything tightens up. The passing lanes vanish. The flaws become impossible to hide. Without the chef cooking, the Dubs have to play faster and find new ways to stretch the defense. They need to look flexible and modern. That is the painful evolution we are watching right now. Head coach Steve Kerr hasn't shied away from the truth of what Green is facing. He put it plainly, noting that while Draymond is an incredible winner who impacts winning, Father Time is undefeated and attacks every player differently. Kerr broke it down, explaining that finesse players like Steph often age like fine wine because their game relies on skill even after the athleticism fades. It is a much steeper hill for a guy like Draymond, who carved out his place in the league through sheer grit, defensive IQ, and being tougher than everyone else. That is just honest analysis. It isn't an insult, it is the physics of basketball. Michael Jordan stayed dominant late in his career by mastering footwork in the post and perfecting his fadeaway. That is skill evolution. Expecting Green to suddenly turn into a sniper from deep at 35 isn't realistic. His path forward has to be cerebral. It is about solving the puzzle of how to be effective when the usual weapons aren't there. He has to figure out, okay, without Steph or Jimmy, what is our identity and how do I maximize my impact within this new reality? That is a brutal adjustment for a player whose game is fueled by fire and instinct. Of course, Green isn't taking the criticism lying down. On his own podcast, he fired back at the narrative that he is useless without Curry. He said, "People love to create these internet theories, but the facts are that Steph has missed way more time than I have recently. The math just doesn't hold up." He calls it a cool story, but points out he has suited up for plenty of games while Steph was sidelined. That is classic Draymond, confident, loud, and technically correct about attendance this year. Curry has only appeared in 39 games compared to Green's 49. The attendance sheet favors Draymond, but availability and actual winning impact are two very different things. The advanced stats are alarming. The eye test confirms it. It is becoming undeniable that Curry's gravity is what unlocks Green's effectiveness on both ends. With Steph, Draymond is the ultimate facilitator who glues the team together. Without him, the cracks in the foundation show. The Warriors are currently sitting at 31-29, clinging to 8th in the West. If the playoffs started today, they would be fighting for their lives in the play-in. That isn't a dynasty, that is survival mode. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a beat on the Warriors saga. How a player handles the twilight of their career reveals their true character. For Draymond, this stretch without his running mate has exposed major roster holes, yet reports suggest he is handling the adversity like a professional. Kerr has applauded his leadership during this rough patch, which cannot be easy. When you have the pride of a 4-time champion and former Defensive Player of the Year, this is high-pressure territory. It is a transition period with a legacy on the line. Whether the franchise doubles down on loyalty or pivots to a new era, one thing is certain. The next big decision will write the final chapter of this dynasty. You have nights like the blowout loss to the Lakers, and it tests your spirit. It is crucial to keep morale high, because getting crushed like that exposes everything. Pride, leadership, and even long-standing relationships get put through the grinder. But let's cut through the noise and get to the real talk. Steph Curry has never demanded that Green be traded. Not once. Not in private meetings, and certainly not to the press. That viral clip of him looking miserable during a timeout, that is just a competitor in street clothes watching his team get smoked. That is it. Everything else is just internet projection. The narrative that Curry is fed up or done with his teammate is built entirely on body language analysis, not on facts or confirmed reports. The web took a fleeting facial expression during a 28-point loss and spun a massive breakup story out of thin air. Now, let's separate feelings from facts. What is actually true? Yes, Golden State explored trade options involving Draymond. That is a fact. The stats without Curry on the floor are ugly. That is also a fact. And Green's future will absolutely be the headline story again this summer. That is the reality. As Draymond said himself, when you aren't winning, every little thing gets magnified. The summer of 2026 is approaching fast, and the decisions made then will echo forever in the Bay Area. Stay tuned, because this soap opera is far from over. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Reality sets in. He has openly acknowledged that discussions with management have pushed him to consider a future beyond the Bay Area. Look, this isn't a soap opera. It is just the cold, hard business of basketball. However, regarding the connection between the chef and Green, number 30 has never wavered. He went on record stating that once you understand a teammate's true character and value, you build a loyalty that survives anything. That is precisely the lens through which he views this alliance. Unshakable faith. That duo drove the Dubs to 4 banners in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2022. While Steph was snagging 2 MVP trophies, Green evolved into the defensive heartbeat that allowed the entire system to function. They stacked up all-star nods and constructed the infamous death lineup, arguably the deadliest small ball crew in history. It wasn't accidental, it was pure synergy. But let's be real, the golden era could be reaching its twilight. Analytics show the magic fades when these two aren't healthy and sharing the court. Management faces a brutal decision this offseason, and Green's $27.7 million option is the elephant in the room regarding the franchise's direction. But the rumor that Curry is plotting Draymond's exit, that is pure internet fiction. There is zero evidence in Steph's words or actions to support it. The future rests in the hands of the Warriors executives, dictated by the salary cap, that player option, and the win-loss column. The verdict definitely won't hinge on a single glare during a timeout or a bad outing versus Los Angeles. We are watching history unfold, and whether the finale is a 5th ring or a tearful departure, the legacy demands more respect than a 7-second viral video. If you are digging this analysis, smash that like button, hit subscribe on the channel, and send this to a friend who needs a reality check. Also, sound off below. Is there fuel left in the tank for this duo? Or is it the end of the road? Let's discuss and catch you on the next upload.